Okay, good evening, everyone. In typical form, I am doing this live stream, not, of course, to do a live stream, because I never do live streams to do live streams. I always do them to test things about live streams. Now, in real life, I want to talk about a couple things, but the thing I'm testing in this live stream is actually, it's over there, if you can see it. I'm calling this the Monero live stream, or Nightowl Monero stream, because I want to talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies, maybe specifically Monero. But the thing we're testing out, xmr.lukesmith.xyz, is it's a way for you to super chat in Monero. Okay, so one of the Monero guys, Eric, which some people might know about. I don't know anything about him except for he goes by Eric. But he wrote this very nice little self-hostable Go script. Well, I mean Go, it's not really a script, but it's basically it's a very small Go program that just reads donations into a Monero wallet and gives you this web interface where you can give a super chat. So I'm going to test that out for him. Hopefully it'll work. And there should actually be notifications if someone actually does it below this. So we're going to test that out here to make sure it works. In the meantime, I want to talk about a couple different things, but as I said, we'll start off on cryptocurrency. I'm open to talking about whatever. But again, you can donate Monero or, the usual ways if you want, and I will read whatever donations. So, are we actually live? Okay. Maybe I should actually check that. So, just starting out things. Now, I say cryptocurrencies. Well, why cryptocurrencies? Within the past couple of weeks, the use case of cryptos is becoming more and more, kind of normalized, mainstreamed, okay? Because, first off, there was that thing in Canada, right? So the Canadian government basically said that they're going to close out a bunch of people's bank accounts and things like this for political donations and stuff like that. And that's insane enough as it is, right? You just declare a state of emergency and you start closing bank accounts or whatever. But then there was this whole Ukraine and Russia thing, which is getting even more insane, okay? Because SWIFT, which is the payment process, one of the back-end payment processors that no one ever knows about, that's used for interbank transfers, basically the governments in the West have, as part of the embargo against Russia, they're trying to cut that. They're basically making it impossible for Russians to actually use money or to use banks or transfer between banks and stuff like that. So there are all these kind of trusted, different ways of transacting money that are now kind of falling into place. Now the thing with cryptocurrencies, originally, right? Oh, it's just for drug dealers and weirdos and stuff like that. But now it's getting to the point, quite literally, where if you're a normal person, I mean, if you're a normal person in Russia or Ukraine, right? To be able to use technology where you can transfer value without an intermediary, that is actually something that's valuable, right? That's something that you now need. Or if you're a Canadian who wants to donate to truckers to honk at libtards, right? So that is now a clandestine operation. That's something you need. I don't know. You need some kind of private cryptocurrency for. So over the past 5 or maybe 7 years or so, there's been this normalization of the idea that all platforms, all technologies, all companies, all everything basically have to serve the direct interests of, the American government, okay? And there's nothing else that you can do aside from that, right? And everyone else is just going to get shut down, all right? So, it's just funny to see that that's been... again, this is no longer for drug dealers and stuff like this. This is now something that everyone kind of has a use for, a need for, right? So I actually noticed on OBS it looks like there was a successful Xmr Super Chat. So good to know it's actually working. So Kenny sends in .01. He says stream powered by plastic Wi-Fi box with no web interface. That's right. That's right. We can all thank Starlink for this fantastic connection. Albeit it would be much better if there were actually a Wi-Fi connection. So, let me. I should go ahead and pull up the proper chat. Wow, looks cozy. Yeah, I also got a new webcam. I don't know if you noticed. Uh, it's very wide angle. I don't know if I like that much. Like, I kind of like my face, but like I've tried to do videos with my face and nothing else, just because I feel like it's kind of distracting seeing the whole room. But it's really, the webcam is at the only comfortable position right now, you know, above my monitor. But I don't know. It's kind of it is comfy looking. It is a comfy looking. I don't know. It makes this office look very nice, right? You got all the colors of my books. Oh man, this is good. This is like this is like 90s nostalgia, except for it's not the 90s. Like, people are gonna look back at this in 20 years. It's like remember when people had rooms like that? Wow. All right. Why are you wearing shoes inside? Well, they're hard to take off, realistically. So, chair looks comfy. What model is it? I don't know. I just have... This chair was actually in the house when I bought it. I don't know where it came from. Like, when I bought this house, there was actually a lot of furniture that they kind of left with it. So, I'll take it. And it's pretty nice. The thing about this chair, though, is it's super low. And so I kind of feel like, honestly, I feel like I look like a manlet. Because it's like the webcam is so far away. I look so small, you know, because I'm like sunk down extra low, you know? Look at it. I don't know. It just looks funny. But I guess it's part of the feel here. But anyway, so back on cryptocurrency. Like, again, people spurg out about it. Like, I mean, one narrative that I think people should put out there is the notion that you know, they need to stop looking at like Bitcoin or Monero as being like a digital object. Like, it's not something you have. Really what it is it's software. It's highly useful software that cuts out all of this cruft that we have in the traditional banking system. It cuts out banks themselves. You don't need to have a bank to get all the features of using a bank. Like, to use your online checking account, you no longer need some trusted party that you store your money with, right? And, you know, just as an example, if someone, you know, donates to someone online, okay, as an example, let's say you send PayPal to someone, PayPal money, right? So that PayPal, that is tied to your bank account, right? And it's you know, you might be processing a Visa or MasterCard transaction. So that's your bank, that's Visa and MasterCard, that's PayPal, and it's sending it through, let's say, Stripe or some other kind of donation service, or another payment processor, and then that goes to someone else's bank. There are all these intermediary parties, and we're now, like, in the craziness of the modern world, right? We're now seeing how crazy, how unsustainable that is. Where if you just have all these, why would you use all this proprietary software from all these parties that can take away your ability to transact when you could just use like a Bitcoin or Monero or something like that, right? That's the idea. Like, a lot of people nowadays, because it's so late, like Bitcoin has been around, so I mean, it's not even late, but you know what I mean? Like, it's been along so long, and people have this idea that the purpose of using digital currencies is for like making money, like as an investment, and that's not it. Like, it's software that you use. And when you realize the software is useful, you realize that, oh, well, I don't really need to worry about gaining or losing money, because it's probably like the networking effect is going to make it more useful in the future. Meaning, you know, yeah, I am going to make US dollars in this if I hold it for a significant period. If I'm holding something decent, right? Not if I'm holding some Pajit coin, but or some scam, but whatever. Luke, your leg amount in the leg to chest ratio is higher than I imagined. Well, it's really just because of the position. Like, my legs are so much closer. They do look enormous. It looks like I have a super small torso, but that is just the perspective of this, I don't know, fisheye lens or unfisheye. I don't know how it is. Yeah, I look totally weird. I look lanky when I put my feet up there, but no, that is not accurate. I'm more torso than legs. I've always felt like, at least. Now, I do have shorter arms than most people, though. Okay? Whenever I get a suit jacket, I usually have to get, like, a shorter sleeved one. I mean, not, like, that shorter. But it's just, you know, a lot of times they'll be a little too far up. That's just my feel of it, right? But I also have, like, wide shoulders. That's if anyone wants to buy me a suit, Wide shoulders, short sleeves. That's how I do it. I don't need a suit, thank you, but, you know. What kind of keyboard is that? An IBM clone. What's the company? I did a video on this. This is a Unicomp Endura Pro. And yes, it is an IBM clone. It is actually the company Unicomp, are former employees of IBM that have the one remaining American factory where they make these things. Yeah, you can get them like the anyway. This has a track point in the middle. That's one of the reasons I got it. So. All right. Let me see. Did I get another Xmr donation that I missed? Nope. Yeah, I have to get people into Monero or Bitcoin or stuff more because again, I think I mentioned before I want to go 100% all using cryptocurrency online within the next year or so. That's just because I mean that's the right way to do it, and it's I mean when it comes down to it, it's also free software. You know what I mean? It's privacy respecting and free software. Or at least Monero is privacy respecting, right? Because if I'm doing a channel talking about how great free software is and why you're screwing yourself if you're using Google Chrome or something like that, it's a little hypocritical to then say, oh, well, here's how you do this with PayPal or Stripe or something like that. Or here, you know, here's some cool stuff to do with your bank account, right? When there's an existing alternative that does pretty much everything better. So... you know, that's just how I feel. Monero to Moon when it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people, again they're thinking about cryptocurrency as if is it going to go up soon. Like I'm not again. I think of it as like software and it's useful software. Monero is really great. Now I do expect it to go up, but you know it's not an issue of really when. Because like the price has to do with so many other things. In the case, it might have to do with the velocity of exchange. How quickly are people actually transacting with it? Because if it's a more widely used currency, it might actually have a lower price, okay? Because it's moving around quicker. Or, you know, it has, I mean, most cryptocurrency prices are just a function of speculation, right? Are people buying or selling or shorting or longing it, you know? So that's why I don't get too set on, you know, the prices what they are now. And I don't think anyone, like, if you buy into it, don't buy into it because you expect it to go up instantly, but because, you know, oh, I can transact with my friends if I need it. And I think I've said this in another video. One thing I recommend people is if you and your friends are thinking about getting into Bitcoin, Monero, whatever, just all of you together, just buy a couple $100 of it. Right? And when you owe your bud $20, just send it on Monero. Okay? Just send it that way. And you will realize the benefits of it. And that will make it useful for you. And that will create a network of people that are using this. Okay? So, you know, that's one of the things. Luke, are you good at chess? I've actually been playing chess a lot recently, but I wouldn't say I'm good at it. I mean, better than a normie, sure. But good at it, no. Like, chess, to get good at it, to get, like, really good at it, you really have to know opening theory and all this kind of crap that I don't have patience to learn, but... any new books coming to Lindy Press? Yes, absolutely. Let me, shoot, where is that? Give me a second. I have some proof copies. I will get it from the other room. So there's one other one that I have shipping right now. So one that I have right here, this is the Alchemy Reader. Okay, so what this is, it's a collection of a couple of many different works in the history of alchemy. Okay, so that might sound like totally bizarre. What do I care about alchemy, right? So firstly, alchemy in the Middle Ages it's like half philosophical and half chemistry and science, right? So a lot of these are more like philosophical treatises. Now there are some from Basil Valentine. You have like a million different recipes in this book for the Philosopher's Stone if you have if you want to make that. So a lot of this is kind of historical. It goes in like the alchemical worldview. How do you explain it? It's partially predicated on the Greek view of the core elements and how they interact versus the Hermetic view. Like ultimately, alchemists had this idea that you do these chemical experiments and you find like these I guess you could say principles behind chemistry, all right? How things interact, how wetness and warmness, like how can you distill things, how can you create kerosene or gunpowder or things like this. And there's an aspect to the universe where everything in the universe reflects other portions of the universe. So if you learn something deep about a chemistry principle, a principle in chemistry, that actually also tells you about how other domains of knowledge work. So it might tell you something about how the cosmos works, or about human psychology, or something like that. Either way, alchemy stuff is actually pretty interesting to read. Some of it is dry and like chemical, but a lot of it is kind of philosophical. One of the interesting ones in here is actually the Philosopher's Rosary. Okay, I don't think you can actually see that. Well, the title is in Latin, but this book is all in English, even though a couple of the titles are in Latin, because traditionally they are. This is an interesting book that goes through, that really has a bunch of quotes and anecdotes from just, hundreds of different philosophers and stuff like that. It's an interesting thing. And notice you saw some engravings. There are like a bunch of different engravings in this book. Ooh, this one's a little risque, but... so I want to have images and stuff. A lot of these, let's see. Oh, the philosophers, the Turba Philosophorum. I don't know how exactly. How would you translate turba? Like the crowd or the uproar or the... I don't know. Again, it's a Latin word, but it's the book in here is written in English. This is sort of the same thing where this book, the Turba Philosophorum, it was written in the Middle Ages by an Arab philosopher, probably. We're not entirely sure. But it's basically a bunch of philosophers from Greek antiquity arguing with each other. Like, one of them says something, and then another one has a retort to that. And it's them trying to, like, figure out, the nature of the universe or whatever. But that was influential in alchemy. I included in there. So I'm still trying to figure out what works to include in here, because... there are some annoying people out there. I really don't like this, okay? But there's some people who will, like, transcribe things or translate things recently. Books that have been out there for hundreds of years. But they'll translate them in English, and then they will put some annoying, non-permissive license. Like, they'll put you can distribute this, you can put this on your website, but you can't make money off of it. Now, that's annoying to me. Now, I don't especially want to make money off of your stuff. Like, me including one extra, book in here is not going to make me a lot of money. However, it annoys me because they have that license. I cannot put your work in physical format, okay? Because I can't do this for free, right? There are production costs, right? So that kind of annoys me. I really hate copyrights in general. Even people who think they're doing the world a good thing by putting out slightly permissive non-commercial licenses, I think that's just as bad. Frankly, is just saying, you can't copy this, right? Okay, I feel like... is this getting a little... yeah, I think I'm delaying a little bit. I'm going to stop the recording on my own machine for a second, because I think it's using too much CPU. I did see an Xmr Super Chat, so I'm going to check that out. Sam Hyde sends in 0.1 or 0.01 XMR. We should just print more Bitcoins so more people can use them. I mean, 40,000 for one coin? How will I purchase that? Yeah, it is crazy. And a lot of boomers think of it like that. They think, oh my goodness, Bitcoin's like $40,000? How am I supposed to get a Bitcoin? Well, in case you don't know anything, you don't need to get a whole Bitcoin out there, I suppose. Some people need to be told that. But yeah, you can get, 0.0000001 Bitcoin. But you tell your boomer uncle that, if they don't know it. Is the audio sounding okay right now? I kind of feel like it's looking choppy on my side. Yeah, no one's complaining about it. So I'm just going to assume that, or maybe no one's complaining about it. Let me zoom down here. Let me zoom down here. Okay. So, Anonymous sent in 0.05 Xmr. Julius Caesar, based or cringe? Definitely on the base side. People who resisted Julius Caesar were definitely cringe. Okay, sorry, Brutus. You're where you deserve in the bottom layer of hell. What was the video I did on that? Who's in the deepest depths of hell? Something like that. I did a video entitled that about Dante's view of Roman history, which is actually probably worth watching. You might learn something if you haven't seen it. Yeah, I definitely think that there are great men who are meant to be leaders, and Julius Caesar was one of them. And the Roman Republic, its days were over. So not really worth it. Actually, maybe I should see if I have normal donations. Oh, I do have normal donations. Bombchew Link says, just wanted to say thank you for introducing me to Linux 3 years ago. Also, thank you for landchad.net. Thank you. I need to do more work on landchad.net. I haven't touched it in a little bit. Of course, I've touched it more than I've touched base.cooking, but yeah, base.cooking actually needs a revamp. I'm going to clear a lot of the old recipes out. I'm probably not going to accept recipes from other people, like not really use it on GitHub. Well, I don't know. I don't know when to say that, but I want to be a lot more, like I want it to have fewer recipes, and I want to cater it more to stuff things that's actually based, right? I don't want to have cringe stuff on base cooking. But yeah, on landchad.net, I do plan on doing videos on a lot of the stuff on landchad.net. That's what I need to do. Next week, I need to set up a PeerTube instance for a friend of mine. So I might do a video setting that up and maybe some other thing. So thank you, Bombchew Link. And it looks like he sent me another one. Thank you for getting me into Linux 3 years ago. Configuring and growing LARPs into my own thing has been an amazing experience. Thank you. Angel Ozzy says, if anything, liberal lefties, if they have any consistent thought or similar values, should be the main people behind cryptocurrency if they pretend to be against the financial institutions being oppressive. Lol. Yeah, I mean, you might think that, but the thing with them is, I think when you get a lot of them down on it, they really just hate the idea of money or wealth or like anyone being rich. And a lot of them really hate the notion of cryptocurrency because it is like, it's really more libertarian than anything else. And if there's anything that makes them seethe, it's the idea that like there's money out there that they can't control. If you want the most hilarious and embarrassing thing you've ever seen in your life, you should see Richard Stallman's interview with Monero Talk, where Richard Stallman gets on there, and of course, Monero Talk is Monero Talk, and they're talking about Monero and digital privacy and freedom and stuff like that. And Richard Stallman, who's, very based on free software and stuff like that, but he's still like this socialist, and he's like, no, I don't want people to be able to send money anonymously. We have to be able to tax them. And it's like, for people like that, there's a kind of contradiction there, where if you believe in income taxes, okay? Income taxes are something that every American has to do. But when you think about how insane they are, you're literally reporting to the government all, your economic transactions as a business, which is just not, it's like they have all your employees, they have no privacy, all your contractors, all major transactions, anything you write off. Like, the amount of compromise that happens in that is just insane. But, you really cannot, like, if you have taxation, you really can't have any kind of freedom. Especially income taxation. That's really egregious the way people do it. Now, if the government did it differently, if they did it in a way, oh, we found out you have income, therefore give us this money, instead of you having to file it, that would be different, right? That would be like a little... the most annoying thing about income taxes... Sorry, it's income tax season in America. I don't know how it is in other countries. So I'm thinking about this because I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to do all this freaking work. Like, I wish the government that spied on me every day just did this work for me. Can you just send me a bill and I'll pay it? Like, that... It's just so annoying. But, whatever. That's just me ranting about something. Okay. Let's go back to the Xmr Super Chats. So, Test Chat says, thanks for getting me into Latin. Here is for testing Super Chats. Hey, thanks. Anonymous says, any tips for saying focused on learning? Been using Linux exclusively for a month now. Well, I mean, learning Linux, when I started learning it, it was just, you got to, you got to be calibrated to what you want to accomplish, right? So when I started, and my original videos on YouTube reflect this, I was all about compiling documents in LaTeX and stuff like this. So I was thinking, how can I optimize this? How can I improve Vim to get me things that I need? All these kind of things to, you just have to be goal oriented. What do I want to accomplish here? And in the meantime, you've got to learn as much as you can. So that's what I recommend. And always try to do things the minimalist way. The way that gets you down to like the nitty gritty of what's going on, and that's how it is. So, Giga Chad the Great sends in some XMR. The XMR will set you free. Onward, you plebs, for freedom's sake. Thank you, Giga Chad the Great. Yeah, people are saying it's laggy. So you know what it is? I actually think, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, the bandwidth looks good, but I think it might actually just be the webcam, because the webcam is delayed. Let me turn this off for a second, or the webcam off. Okay. And I'm actually, maybe I'll pause this background swirl. You like my background swirl? Let's see. How do I pause it? There we go. That's image magic, right? So I just used like the plasma feature and made it into, made a bunch of, well, really just a GIF out of it. Okay, I'm going to pause that, and that will take up less bandwidth. Now I am going to, okay. Yeah, I think it's still, yeah. The video is choppy. The problem is not the bandwidth. The problem is actually my CPU usage on my computer. That's... Yeah, the audio should be fine. Yep. Yeah, it's not Starlink, it's my computer or whatever. The weird thing is, I used to be able to stream perfectly on this laptop with no problem. Like, it never did, it never took up 100% of my CPU or anything crazy. But just recently... recently within the past year. It used to, for years I would stream without a problem. But then maybe there was some change to OBS or something else. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go from my big screen. I'm going to move to my laptop screen. That will probably reduce... that'll make it easier. A little easier for my poor little core-lit computer. How's the Graeber and Wingrow? I actually have not busted that open. He's referring to that orange book right there. That's the dawn of everything. I don't know if it's because you actually saw it or because, because I mentioned it in another stream. I have not opened that book. I want to do a podcast episode on his on another book of David Graeber's, the BS Jobs one. Hey Luke, have you encountered any ghosts in the woods? No, I actually haven't. I'm missing out. Clearly missing out. I'm gonna turn off that tab because it's probably taken up. Okay. I probably should reorient myself since I'm facing the other screen now. Yeah, it's not a swirly chair, so sorry about that. I don't have all the technology I need. Moayed says, I want to buy Monero and possibly other coins anonymously. How? Coinbase or websites similar to it, then transfer it to my own wallet? What wallet do you use? Thanks for your great informative videos. So, firstly, when it comes to cryptocurrency, at this point, the only coins that I recommend, and again, this is not investment advice because I'm not interested in just making money, but software advice. The only ones I recommend are Bitcoin and Monero, and that's it. And I have reasons for that. Now, as for attaining Monero, so let's say you buy Bitcoin on a KYC exchange. That is the easiest thing to do. It's also the worst thing to do. Now, it's still better than not having it, but yes, you want to transfer it to a private wallet. Now, to get Monero is not on a lot of exchanges, and this is actually a really good thing for different reasons because, if a Monero is on exchanges, that actually means that it compromises its an onset, because basically an exchange has access to which transactions are in a ring signature or legitimate or not. I mean, maybe it's complicated if you don't know how Monero works, but either way, Monero is not on a lot of exchanges. But what you can do is you can take Bitcoin, and there are many swap sites where you can just swap Bitcoin for Monero without having an account. And if it's a small amount, they won't require ID or anything. And of course, now they do have atomic swaps as well. I have never used one of those, but those are trustless ways of doing the same thing where you can transfer Bitcoin to Monero. So you can look for an atomic swap. So that's the best way of getting Monero, and I recommend never, even if you buy Bitcoin on an exchange, keep it off an exchange. Like, never let it touch an exchange again, and never let your Monero touch an exchange. That's just good OPSEC. And if for someone like me who's in it for the long haul, like, I don't really worry about cashing out or doing anything. I'm just going to hold it for years. So, so specific places where you can trade Monero, okay, or Bitcoin, other stuff, sites and services you should know. So, there are sites called Local Monero, and there are local Bitcoins and local cryptos. These are all sites where it's kind of like a Craigslist, where you can put in an ad saying, hey, I want to buy this much Bitcoin, and I'll give you American dollars or Monero or stuff like that. So again, local Monero, local cryptos, local Bitcoins. You can look at sites like this. That's a way for anonymously getting this kind of stuff. Now, a lot of times, the specific people who you want to transact with, they might want to know your ID just to make sure you're not like some kind of assassin or you're someone trying to launder money, but they just expect you to be a normal person, and they're not going to usually send your ID to someone else. So that is an option. Ideally, also, there is, of course, Bisq, which I've recommended in the past. That's BISQ. You can go to bisq.network. That's their website. That is software you can run on your computer that is basically the same thing, where you can put up orders or respond to orders. There are no accounts. You can use all these different ways of buying Bitcoin. But the tricky thing with that is, well, it's a little harder to use software if you're unfamiliar. It'll look scary. But also, you need Bitcoin to use it, because whenever you trade Bitcoin, you have to put up a small amount as collateral, right? So, anyway, yeah, that's my answer to how you should get them. So, and then again, you're doing everyone a favor if you do get a lot, even if you buy, like, if the only thing that you think you can reasonably do is get Bitcoin off of a KYC exchange where you have to show your ID and crap like that, that is still better than nothing as far as I'm concerned. But once you buy it there, transfer it to a private wallet. Get an Electrum wallet, get a Samurai wallet, doesn't matter. Like, as long as it's a good wallet that you have the seed phrase for and no one else does, transfer it there. Store your seed phrase safely. Just make sure you own it. And even getting KYC Bitcoin is better than none. Okay, so that is my view on it. Zfang says, hi Luke, any advice on starting a YouTube channel? Recently uploaded around 9 videos about philosophy on my channel after becoming disillusioned with the BS jobs. Love the not related podcasts. Watched all of them. Yeah, and I need to do another one on BS jobs. Specific recommendations, like, the thing is, I could give you the advice that worked for me, but it might not work for other people, or it might, my technique has always been, like, be real. I mean, you guys know am I recording in a studio? No, I'm recording off my, like, individual, my personal computer that, runs like crap and stuff like that. Like, I've always just sort of winged it on YouTube, I guess. Like, I've never really made it a thing. and I don't edit videos. And now the thing is, you can say I'm going for a style. I'm not really going for it, but there's a style behind it. And so what I would say is that just like do unapologetically what you want to do. Okay, and if you want to shill products and stuff and make money off that, unapologetically do that. Okay, you do it. But I think one thing you got to remember is that most people out there, even if they're doing good stuff, like, you can't necessarily expect that you will magically take off. And I know lots of, like, dude, everyone in the world around me seems like they wanted to become a YouTuber at some point, and they ask me about this kind of stuff. But I would just say, put yourself in a position where you don't get burnt out just doing stuff that you want to do, and do stuff that you want to do, and it won't be then you will be content with, I have a couple hundred subscribers, or maybe a couple thousand, or I don't even know how much. I know I have more than 100,000 now, but it doesn't really feel like that. It's kind of weird. So please respond to my email, or this is Josh at the Lyft program. Please respond to my email, or I will perpetual harass via live stream. I don't know. I don't see an email from you. Sorry, buddy. I mean, if you emailed me a long time ago, I don't know. Maybe I'm not gonna look through my emails right now. You could repost what you want said there. Okay, let's see. Category theory sent in some Monero. This is one small step for man and one small donation to test if this works. Hello, Luke. By the way, have you talked about Ukraine yet during the stream? No, I'm not really interested in talking about Ukraine. I think it's probably going to roll over. I mean, it's obviously still... I mean, there's nothing to say about it. Like, there really isn't. I said what I was going to say at the beginning, which isn't really about Ukraine, but I think it's nuts that the Western governments are now effectively deplatforming financially Russia for some reason. Like, this invasion of quote-unquote invasion of Ukraine is so egregious, and so, of course, no one in America knows what's actually going on over here. Oh, I was like, sorry, I know what that is. No one in America actually knows what's going on. So they can just kind of say, oh, Russia just invaded for no reason, and so we gotta kick them off the banks. We have to kick them off SWIFT, and there's basically, we're gonna have all these embargoes and all this crap, and it's just so stupid. But now the default option is whenever someone does something you don't like, you just deplatform them. And the thing is, you can't really deplatform an entire country that you're partially reliant on. That's going to be pretty bad for America. And it's going to be really hilarious if China decides to just annex Taiwan. What's America going to do then? Are we going to have an embargo against China? Like, literally, I'd like to see you do that, Joe Brandon. It's going to be so funny. Because you're not going to do it. And they're not even doing anything important about this Ukraine stuff, because they don't really give a crap about it. Like, it's just... I mean, if they cared about the people in Ukraine, they would say, listen, Russia is more powerful than you at this point, right? The war is lost. You might as well give the counties, whatever they call them, the territories in the East, their own independence, their own sovereignty, and, just say you don't own the Russian sections of Ukraine now, and call it that. Just abide by Russia's demands, which aren't even, like, that unreasonable. That's not me saying that I think it's a good idea that they, like, invaded the country or whatever, but I don't know. It's just silly. Like, if Western countries cared about it, they would try to find peace as soon as possible, because there's not really any reason. Like, this is a very fake conflict that didn't have to happen. It's basically, I mean, it quite literally is the same thing in World War II with Poland, where Western governments encouraged Poland to stand up to Germany for no reason over things that didn't matter. It's like Germany had perfectly reasonable requests of Poland, about the Danzig corridor and all this kind of stuff. But the Western, like Britain and France were like, no. Poland, you have to stand up to Germany and fight for them and blah, blah, blah. The difference there is when Germany invaded Poland, France and the United Kingdom actually declared war on Germany. But the US now are such pansies, and they're so fake that they're not even going to declare war on Russia. Which, of course, it would be suicidal and world-ending if they did. Or at least really bad. So, okay, I gotta be right back. This stupid cat is scratching at my door. Alright, come in, kitty. Okay, so, Owen sends in some Monero. Whenever someone tells me they have crypto, then start talking about Coinbase, I always cringe because I know they don't know what crypto is and what it can do and are just in it for the money. Yeah, it is pathetic. But the irony is, I was talking to people about this the other day. It is really hard to get someone into crypto without using a KYC exchange. Because what are you going to tell them? I mean, you could say, oh, dude, just buy this stuff on BISC. Oh, wait, you need some Bitcoin to start on BISC. Shoot. Well, maybe you can use local Bitcoins and meet some stranger or something like that. Right? I mean, there are all these things that are kind of hard for people to do. And that's why I said what I said before about KYC exchanges. Like, I mean, if you feel like you have to get it off a KYC exchange, as long as you transfer it to a private wallet to start off, it's not the end of the world. I don't think it's good. If you can avoid it easily, you should. But, you know, it is sad. And the thing you have to remember is if you're using Coinbase, Gemini, any KYC exchange, you do not own Bitcoin. You don't own any cryptocurrency. You own a pretend index fund that's indexed to these crypto values, and you have no access to it. You are not using the Bitcoin network, okay? You're not using the software. You are using, it's literally software as a service. That's basically what it is, okay? It's software as a service. Okay. Burnson said, I'm building a FOSS game. What do you think about games and free software? So, now, you guys know that I always talk about how much I hate games, and I think people should play less of them, video games. But I will say I do have some opinions on free software video games. That is the direction they should go. I will tell you that after I take a swig or a chug of water. So, the thing is, people have this tendency to view games different from all other kinds of software, right? So if you watch the channel, you probably understand the notion of Unix software, where all of the software you build, they are small particles that interact. They do different things and they interact with each other, and you add them all together for a cohesive environment. Okay. The thing with games, and this is totally an artifact of the fact that games are more or less centrally produced by big companies, okay? But games are the opposite of that. They basically want a standard cinematic experience. They throw big budget game designers and all this complexity on it. And really every game they make, they are reinventing the wheel in some way, right? A lot of them have totally different engines that aren't related at all. You might write your own engine, or you might base it off an engine that doesn't really work or something like that. And of course, because there are all these proprietary licenses and stuff like that, right? That's almost a necessity. Like every company has their own engine and way of doing things, and stuff like that. The thing with free software is I think it really has a big potential in kind of building a gaming environment that's not about making a single game, but really about making a gaming environment where you have, I'm going to write this RPG engine. Okay, so it can be used for, your standard. It could be used for this 3D game or a 2D game, or it could be used for like a text game, or it could be used for anything. It's just an RPG engine, right? Or I'm going to do, I'll have a graphical engine, or I'll have a graphical engine that can be used for a turn-based game. It could be used for, a kind of game where you're running a platformer, 3D platformer, whatever. And the thing is, that like if you actually have free and open source software and you have a lot of people working on things, they can be much more collaborative, right? Nowadays, it would be crazy. I mean, it's almost inconceivable to think of, oh, here's this development that, someone made when they created Mario 64 that could be used in other games. No, that's a trade secret. That's secret. Like, they don't show people how that works. That's not code that's publicly available. The only people who figure it out are the people who are speedrunning the game 30 years later and figure out how this weird thing works because, they have the autism of wanting to shave off 2 seconds from their personal best, So I think games have a massive potential in a free software environment if you look at them differently. You gotta not look at them as like you have to be a game designer not for making a single theatrical game, but think about it in terms of making good software that can be generalized to other games, and you can really take bits and pieces and put them together. And it's easier for people who just, when you have an environment of software like this, right, then you can have someone who's not really that good of a programmer who more or less can take these pieces together and create a story, that they can create, they can add something on top of that. And you can have, and of course, we already live, even in the game environment now where everything's proprietary, there is already modding, and that is a massively popular thing. And I think that should really be the norm. Like, that's what people want. And that is what you have in free software. Okay. Anyway, I actually kind of thought about doing a video on gaming and stuff like that, on this kind of stuff. So Jordan says, what issue do you have with the Tractatus Logico Philosophicus? I've considered reading it because I have realized language is a very useful weapon that people use to subjugate others. Well, that's not really what the TLP is about. I mean, the TLP is... The main problem I have with it is the foundations it's based on of... the whole book is like this deductive chain of reasoning, okay? And the thing I have... The issue I have with any of that is that if you have this long deductive chain of reasoning, you have to have everything airtight for it to mean anything. Because if you get a single grain of sand in the gears, everything means nothing, right? So I think it's kind of a dishonest... people like to look at something like that and think it's like the most hardcore, logical way of... having any an analysis, when in reality it's just playing off of pretense. That's my view of it. And of course, Wittgenstein came to reject all the stuff in the Kitty. Okay, I'm busy. Kitty, come on. All right. I learned that you can pick cats up like this. I don't know. It's really weird. I used to think you could only pick kittens up like that, but apparently cats don't mind it either. I feel like I'm like choking them or killing them, but. Anyway, so on the TLP, the cat is like the most annoying being in the universe. It's actually my brother's cat. So my brother, when I was younger, okay, he brought this cat home. It was a kitten. And this is when he was living with our parents, okay? And they were furious. They were like, oh, you're bringing home a cat. We're waiting for the other cats to die. So he brought home this cat, and like he's never raised it, okay? So... it's basically lived with our parents the entire time. And when my dad moved, he was like, oh, I'm going to just bring the cat to your house. It's going to enjoy living out there. And I'm like, really? Well, maybe it will, but I don't. And it smells like crap now. It smells like sand, and I don't know, because it's outside all the time. The sand out here, it's not that bad when you're walking around, but if you have a creature that's rolling in it all the time, it's kind of nasty. Anyway, so the TLP, what was I saying? But one thing you do say, so he says, I considered reading it because I've realized language is a very useful weapon that people use to subjugate others. Way back in the day, before I reformatted my website around the time I created a YouTube channel, I had a really good essay on this, and I need to republish it. And it's basically an outline, like a list of
linguistic techniques, primarily that's used by the media to subjugate people, like to convince them of things that are untrue, and that like they've only become more common. Like I did this back in like 2015, and this was around when the media like really went off the, I don't know, just kind of fell off a cliff. They went kind of nuts when Donald Trump became to be a thing, and they would just like there was no lie that was like too shameful for them, or like not even lie, like a shameful manipulation. So there were a couple like presupposition smuggling. That was one of the big ones. That's one of the biggest ones. There are all these techniques. Anyway, I want to do a video on them because they're worth. It's worth making people aware of these kind of things, because once you see them, they're so blatant and it's so obvious what these guys are doing. But you know, whatever. All right, let me check the XMR donations. Let's see if we got any. Okay, GNU Linux sent in some XMR. Can you talk a little about how you back up important data, your entire setup, how reliable it is? Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. Well, I don't back up stuff as much as I should. I guess all the important stuff I have backed up, but I will back things up on extra drives that I have, and I'll usually use rsync. And so all my media files and sensitive data, I guess, I don't really have that much sensitive data, really. I'm trying to think, I don't know, my GPG key, like that's probably the only thing I really care about losing. I guess my passwords, but they're all encrypted in GPG. I do use pass for a lot of things now. I've kind of started to use that. Like I now use different passwords for every account consistently. Usually I use rsync just to, I'll plug up a drive and I'll create an rsync script that, if a drive is plugged up, it'll automatically sync these folders. And, I'll store the drives in somewhere somewhere safe. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing too complicated. You just make copies of things you're afraid to lose. But I should probably make some more. Boating Accident sent in some XMR. Love your website and videos, which got me into XMR in the first place. It's the only coin I hold. Should I delete my Coinbase account? Also, any thoughts on the Steam Deck? Well, you should delete your Coinbase account. I actually still have my Coinbase account. I don't have any money on it, of course. But, and I want to say I'm trying to think other exchanges I might have an account to, but I'm not quite sure. Thoughts on the Steam Deck? Literally none. Kitty, I'm busy. I don't really know anything about it, but it's probably just, proprietary software working its way into Linux and more normies getting into Linux and mucking it up. Okay. Let me check the fiat donations if there are any. Doesn't look like it. All right, I'll look at the chat for a second. Thoughts on Discord? Well, I am not confused about my gender, so I don't think positively on Discord. And it's proprietary software, so I'm not going to use it. So it's pointless. What's your diet? Normal food. Luke, buy a Sneed deck. Okay, I'll get that. Where's the second Git server setup video? Yeah, I never made that. I said that I would make a video setting up StageIt, which actually isn't too hard to set up. I mean, it's basically just like a static site generator, but it's not really worth it. And it wouldn't work for that many people, to be honest. I did think about doing a video on Gitea, but Gitea is like... Wait, Gitea? Is that Git? Is that the self-hosted one? Yeah, Gitea. Or Gitee. Or maybe... I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Gitea. But that is like... It is such... I hate to use the word, but bloated software. It's just... I don't know. It takes up... Like, you have to have a massive... You have to have a million CPUs... a bajillion megs of RAM. Not that many, but, whatever. Looking soft, Luke. Yeah, I am a softie. Why don't you buy some drip? Okay. Check the XMR. I don't know if I read it before, but Hoystein sends in some XMR. Luke, I've been a fan of your work for years now. Have the Monero I mined last year. Well, thank you, Hoystein. So is that actually how much Monero you make in a year? That's not as much as I thought. I don't know how much. I don't know how much Monero I'd actually expect a person mines. I've thought about mining Monero, but I've never had good enough internet to do it until recently. But I do feel like it probably would not be economical for me, because I just have, just some lowly compute. I mean, it's not like you need an ASIC for it, but. What's the difference between Monero and Pirate Chain? So Pirate Chain arguably is using better technology than Monero. Actually, not really. I consider it better. So Pirate Chain uses zero-knowledge proofs to, obscure where transactions are going. And not really obscure, to encrypt transactions. And that's a big advantage. Now, Monero doesn't do that because I think the technology is still kind of new and untested in the view of the Monero team, and that's understandable. I said on Monero Talk when I went on that I really feel like it should move to zero-knowledge proofs. I mean, it already uses it for bulletproofs to, hide transaction amounts. But Pirate Chain, so it uses kind of better technology, and there are other things that people say about it, like, the Pirate Chain is theoretically trusted setup and things like this, which is not good, very not good. The big thing with Pirate Chain also is that a huge amount of it was the distribution of Pirate Chain in terms of how quickly it was mined is pretty, the emission schedule, that's what the term I'm looking for. Something like 90% of Monero or Pirate Chain has been mined, right? And there is a fixed supply. It's not like Monero that has tail emission. So, of course, close to all of the original emission of Monero has been mined, but Monero has that constant tail emission afterwards. So anyway, that's worrisome of Pirate Chain because it might mean that a small core of developers have a whole lot of it. They can dump on you pretty easily. And Pirate Chain is still not a very widely known about currency, so that really makes you think that there is something with that. But I'm not against it. I just don't use it. I'm not interested in it that much. I mean, if you like it, if you trust it, that's worth it. Okay. Boaz sends in $2. I might get a book of yours from Lindy Press, but who is this Lindy in Lindy Press? Well, I think it says it in the facts, but, it's kind of named after the Lindy effect. And the Lindy effect is this idea that things that have lasted for a long time will continue to last, right? Whereas things that came up last year, so let's say TikTok. TikTok is a recent invention, right? It's probably not going to last that much longer. Kids are going to move on to something else in the next 5 years. It might stay around, but, in general, things that are 2 years old, aside from humans and stuff like that, but, concepts, ideas, famous books that have been around for 2 years will probably only be around for 2 more years. Whereas if they've been around for 100 years, they'll probably be around for 100 more years. Or if they've been around for 1,000 years, they'll probably be around in 1,000 more years. So whatever cultural knowledge we have from 2,000 years ago is probably going to be here in 2,000 more years. People are still going to be talking about Aristotle or something like that. So that is the name behind Lindy Press. So I think if you get a book, it explains it in the opening page. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So I talked about the Alchemy Reader. I didn't mention the other books I was going to do. So there's the Opus Tertium. I think I talked about this is a Roger Bacon book. This one is in Latin. And I've been proofreading this for 3 freaking months because I get bored of it. So this one might come out. But the one that I don't have a physical copy of, it's actually in the mail being sent to me, but it's closest to completion. I might publish this like sometime next week. It's called The Secret of Secrets, or it's sometimes known by its Latin word, the Secretum Secretorum. Okay, and it's a really cool book. It was super. It's another one of those things that's like the Book of Etymologies, where it was one of the most popular books in the Middle Ages that nowadays we just sort of kind of forget of. But what the Secretum Secretorum is it's supposed to be a book written by Aristotle to his pupil, Alexander the Great. Now, modern scholars will say, oh, it's not actually written by Alexander. It's probably written by, either some later Greek or an Arab or something like that. It probably wasn't actually written by Aristotle. Either way, everyone in the medieval ages and the Arabic world, they all took it for granted that this is an Aristotelian book. So what's inside of it? Well, nominally, it's Aristotle telling Alexander how he can rule a country, how he should rule a country. But it also has that, it has such a panoply of different concepts. It has like, what's a good daily routine? When should you get up? What should you eat in the morning? What kind of exercises should you do? What kind of foods are proper to eat in what seasons? And, it talks about the four humors of, the human body and how... what you can eat if you feel like this and cure you there. And so it has kind of dietary advice. It has political advice. It has kind of magical content. Like he even has, well, you don't necessarily have to think of this as magic. It's really like he brews like medicinal potions and stuff like that. Potions sounds magical, but basically like teas and kind of cure-alls and stuff like that. If you have a fever, you can drink this. And of course, there is also a recipe for the Philosopher's Stone, if you need that. So it was a highly influential book. It actually was influential very much on Roger Bacon, who wrote on it on numerous occasions. But it's actually just a really good to read book. I'm publishing it in English. As time goes on, I kind of want to publish more stuff in English. Like there are some things that I'm going to publish in Latin, like the Book of Etymologies. It's published in Latin, and it's going to stay that way. There's never going to be an English version of that because the book doesn't make sense in English. You have to read it in Latin because it's really about Latin. Or this, there is no English translation out there that I know of. Definitely not one that's digitized. So you got to get this in Latin. I am not going to translating is a very difficult thing that takes lots and lots and lots of time and effort that I do not want to expend. Okay, so I will not be doing that. So anyway, those are some other books that are coming up. I intended to have those out by the end of February, but some family thing came up. So anyway, that ended up not happening. But I will do them shortly. So. Okay, so Monero thing's still working. I haven't gotten a chat in a little while. Alrighty, let's see. I will look at the normal chat. Yeah, another thing in the Alchemy Reader that is pretty interesting. There's a book by Roger Bacon who wrote this. There's a little letter that he wrote that I'm including in the Alchemy Reader. No, they marked on my pages. That's interesting. It's actually called On the Nullity of Magic, or sometimes the Non-Existence of Magic. And it was kind of interesting when I read it because, well, it's him actually saying, he of course does not consider alchemy magic. He considers mediums and stuff like that magic. Alchemy is real science. But he actually, I remember in this passing remark, he said something about, oh yeah, I knew a guy who created a flying machine and stuff like this. So he talks about all this, I don't know, kind of interesting stuff. And I think he mentions like submarines and stuff as an idea. Anyway. All right, check the chat. Thoughts on choosing a major at college? I would recommend dropping out. Or math, if you have to be in there. So David says, do you think Bitcoin ATMs are good and worthwhile? Apparently my state has regulations that make local Bitcoins and Paxful illegal. But there is a Bitcoin ATM near me. They make them illegal. So, okay, here's the thing about local Bitcoins illegal. So that is a very silly thing. It is a peer-to-peer transaction, right? You can meet someone on Craigslist and transact with them. Okay, you can meet a random guy. I mean, it's like saying that if you give someone $20, it's illegal. So, if you're I'm wondering what state you're in for that to even be a thing. I guess maybe California. I don't know. But realistically speaking, this is not me telling you to violate the law. But you could very easily violate that law, right? It's not a very enforceable law unless the government is literally putting people out there pretending to buy or sell Bitcoin and meeting people on local Bitcoin so they can entrap them. I also don't know what Paxful is. Is that some exchange that I don't know of? Paxful? Let me look that up. Paxful. Peer-to-peer. Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's weird. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that. It's weird. I've never heard of that. So Bitcoin ATMs, they, I mean, a lot of them that they're a mixed bag because there are some Bitcoin ATMs where you just exchange your Bitcoin for money or vice versa, and that's it. But a lot of Bitcoin ATMs now are basically KYC. You gotta take a picture of your ID and give us your social security number. So they're just a KYC exchange, basically. You just don't need an account, which doesn't make that much of a difference. But of course, all Bitcoin ATMs, they take a huge commission. You know, they give you a price. I mean, they might not add a fee on top of it, but they'll give you a price that is highly favorable to them. So, but whatever, you know, you might want to contemplate going to another state if you want to use local Bitcoins legally. But I don't know. Of course, maybe he's not in America. Maybe there's some other country that like I feel like that is not something you can make illegal in America. Because it's not really something you can make illegal. I mean, yeah, you can make it illegal. Like, you can say you can't give someone $20 if they send you Bitcoin, right? But is that enforceable? I don't really... I mean, that's the whole point of using a peer-to-peer exchange. Like, hypothetically, if the government declared Bitcoin software illegal, you could still have in and off ramps to use it because, like, peer-to-peer regulation is still difficult, right? I mean, it's the same concept as... Like, there are still people who, even the mail is theoretically run by the federal government, right? But there's a sense in, like, there are lots of people who send illegal stuff via mail, right? Because no one is, like, checking it, okay? It's basically you just sending someone else something, right? And, you know, that's where a lot of this illegal stuff online, like if someone buys drugs... a lot of them will just ship it to your house, right? Or whatever address, you know, you need or whatever. But, all right. Let's see. What is your opinion on Vox Day and Owen Benjamin? Well, those are two very different people. Vox Day, I had never, I mean, I probably heard the name, but I want to say I only kind of looked at his stuff maybe late last year. I kind of read his blog, and some of it's kind of nice. You know, no big impression of him. Owen Benjamin, I think, is really funny. Like, this stuff, like, he's one of those space is fake. Or, you know, he's one of those, I'm not saying space is fake, but, you know, it could be fake. He's pretty funny. But, you know, I don't know that much of either of them. But... Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to talk about. There's a video I want to record There are always some things I don't want to talk about on live streams because I intend to record videos on them. But I will go ahead and say that later this year, I really want to move to physical servers more. In fact, I might kind of make my own server farm in town, where I can run stuff for myself and other people. Yeah, that's right. Find the most annoying place to sit. So if anyone has any recommendations as to what hardware I should get, if I'm going to have like a server rack, what are good functioning but still economical ways of having some servers. If I want to host websites mainly, this is all going to be web stuff. One thing I really want to do is I want to host a BTC Pay server. That is something I really want. Because I want to be able, again, my goal is to be using all cryptocurrency and stuff like that, and it would be very nice to have my own Bitcoin node kind of thing. And BTC Pay, if you don't know what it is, it's basically a payment processor where it's not just a Bitcoin node kind of thing, but you can have it gives you point of sale stuff, like you can interface it with other software. I want to use it on Lindy Press, right, where people can just send in Bitcoin or Bitcoin via the Lightning Network. And it works with other cryptos as well. It has an XMR plugin, which I expect to use as well for that. And I was actually thinking about, if that works well, I may actually just go to businesses in town and see if they're interested, in using my BTC Pay server, if they want to accept Bitcoin or something like that. Because that would be something pretty easy to do. And I think there are actually ways of making, if I wanted to not rip people off, but, if I wanted to have a pay, allow them to pay to use it, I don't think, I might just want to do it for free. But, I think that it has a way of, like, you can charge people to use it, like charge some fee. So that might be an option as well to make money. So that's something for people to think about. BTC Pay. So if anyone has had experience with that, tell me about that. Uncle Ted sent in some Xmr. Did Elon solve the whole Ukrainian crisis with the delivery of all the Soylink terminals? My pastor actually told me about that today. I wasn't even... he's always doing publicity stuff. But, it does... One thing that I can say... Of all the negative things I can say, there are two positive things I can say about Soylink. One is that it works. Two is that it would probably work for even the dumbest people on the planet. So you can literally just plug it in a power outlet and it will work. And that, congratulations, Congratulations, Elon. So yeah, you can actually send a bunch to some country. Hey Luke, please do more mythical history stuff from a big-brained perspective. A thorough rebunk of Fingerprints of the Gods would be keynote. Yeah, I have some stuff to say about Graham Hancock. I would not say it's a mixed bag, okay? I think he says a bunch of crap. But I will say over the years, if you look at his direction, he has gone from basically believing anything he finds interesting to he's much more grounded now, and he says some pretty sensible stuff. Although, I think it's what's his name, Randolph Carlson, is that his name? Randall Carlson, who's put him on the path of light. Although you can't trust him, he's a Freemason. Luke, have you heard of Spore Stack? If you don't know what it is, it's an accountless API-driven VPS hosting for Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, and Monero. Well, depending on how... I want to host things myself. I will just say that. That's why I want to buy physical servers. Oh, and when I said send me advice on that, I meant sent my email that. If you're posting it in the chat, I will probably not see it. So please... send me if you are familiar with hosting web servers, okay, send me messages about it. And I'll go ahead and tell you what I need. Again, I'll probably do a video on this separately to get more views on it. But what was I gonna say? So I want I need to host websites, individual websites, and the most intensive thing I need is my PeerTube instance, right? So I have 2 cores on that, and of course I need a lot of attachable storage, but that's to be expected. And I need a good bit of memory. Not that much memory, but I just need to be able to scale things up. So, well, I'm actually glad the live stream is working this time. How's the video and audio? I'm hoping everything is good now, but I'm gonna check something else. Hold on. Yeah, I think me doing it on a lower resolution screen, like my physical computer, is actually a whole lot better. As opposed to like the monitor. What are your thoughts on Docker? I hate it and it sucks. That's one of the reasons. The one thing about BTC Pay is they really want you to use Docker, and I really don't want to use it because I find it really hard to use. It just makes things complicated. Makes it hard to troubleshoot things. I mean, if I knew Docker better, it would probably be less of a problem. But just in general, I find it very frustrating to use. And I think it's definitely overused for, like, most simple things do not need a Docker installation. I will just say, like, the things that I put on landchad.net, host your own this, host your own that, really none of those need Docker. Okay, if you're just some random dude, you pull up a VPS, you want to install PeerTube or Pleroma or something, you don't need Docker for that. And Docker is going to make your life miserable. There are, like, because I say this because a lot of the times I will talk about how much I hate virtualization and stuff, and people will be like, well, all VPSs have virtualization and blah, blah, blah. What, you want like an individual computer for... No. Listen, dude, I'm talking about for people like me, for people like the people who watch my channel, Docker and all that kind of stuff, containerization, virtualization, is just like, it's frustrating and it's unnecessary. And unless you're some kind of systems administrator who is doing things that are very, all this complicated provisioning and stuff, it's not really for you. What are your thoughts on deism? It's gay. Yeah, I still never figured out on the lag issue what was going wrong with the FFmpeg stream. When I was streaming before, and it like kept getting laggier and laggier, like it was like 5 seconds off between the video and the audio. And then as time went on, it was like 3 minutes off or something ridiculous. I looked back at that and I was like, this is totally unwatchable. So I need to like not do streams like that. So I'm doing it in OBS again. But you will see the audio and video are a little off, but it's actually off on my computer that I'm looking at. I think it might be, who knows what it is, but as long as it's contained and it's not too crazy. So I'll clap. Let's see how off it is. Okay. See, that's not too bad. Or at least it's not too bad on my screen. Okay. Can confirm Docker's pain and suffering. Soy devs in DevOps reeing hard. Lol. Can I get an IV drip of Soylent so I can stay in the metaverse all day? Do you get your water from a well? Yes, I do. Of course, it's not like an old world, lower the bucket well, but I do have a well. And everyone out here has an electric well. That's just how it is. You probably know that when you ask that, but I just feel like there are a lot of people who don't, who have just been on city water their whole life. I have my own well. The only thing you got to worry about your own well, a couple things. I have a water softener, because the water that comes out of my well is kind of murky, so you got to have a water softener. And the only upkeep with that is I have to put a bunch of solar salts in there every 6 months or so, and that'll cost maybe $40. But eventually, all wells run dry eventually, and you never really know when that's going to happen. But when it does, I'm going to have to pay $20,000 to get a new well dug, and then if they miss, or if they don't know where the water is, I'm going to have to pay $20,000 more. So that is the one annoying thing. Maybe I should move to a rain catchment system. That's what I should do. That would probably be better. It does rain enough to that. Okay, Uncle Ted again sent in a little more XMR. Regarding servers, Super Micro sells decent commodity servers that run everything and you won't get cucked by HP, Dell, etc. I will write that down. Super Micro. Super Micro. Okie dokie. You talked about video games earlier. Do you still have those PC games and Nintendo 64 games on your PC? Nah, that was just a proof of concept. I don't have the NPC, the N64 games on my computer. Or what PC games did I have? I don't. I'm trying to remember. The only PC game I ever remember playing recently, when I say recently, I mean like within the past 5 years, is the Dark mod. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's like a modern version of the old Thief games. And it was kind of nice. And it actually is a good example of partially what I was talking about before when I think it's entirely free software. But the game itself is really just an engine, and the game, really people make plots for it, and they make like levels for it. And I think that like the amount of gameplay that's in the original game is very small. It's like a couple missions. So it's mostly a user-defined game. Luke Smith is a Nintendo 64 gamer, confirmed. I remember you doing a Deus Ex stream. Yeah, I did do that. That was years ago. Maybe that's within 5 years. But, I don't, that is the only time I've played it. I did it for show just to do it on my computer. See, me streaming that worked well. Why is it that, streaming just my screen is working less well than that? That's what I'm wondering. In fact, I may have been using the X200, which is even a more primitive computer, right? All right, it's getting close to my bedtime. Actually, it's way past my bedtime. It's almost midnight here. So, David says, same guy from before. What I mean is, I tried to sign up on Paxful and local Bitcoins to send using bank transfer. They themselves ban all accounts from New York, Washington, and other places due to some legislation. Did not yet try in-person trade. Yeah, those sites... Again, I'm not going to tell you to violate the law, because you shouldn't violate the law, but, if you don't need, identification, you can just say, oh, I'm in El Salvador, or something like that. Or you can meet someone in Pennsylvania. And it would probably be legal anyway. Don't ask me, but it would probably be... I mean, it's not like you're a slave of New York. So you could trade... if you live if you live near New York City, for example... you're right next to New Jersey, so you could easily just, go over there, but I don't know your situation. But yeah, I do know that, and I want to say not just local Bitcoins, I want to say maybe local cryptos says if you're in America, you can't transact here. But the other thing about that is hypothetically, not telling you to violate your local ordinances or whatever, but that is only really relevant if you're doing an in-person trade, in the sense that it's only enforceable. That's what I should say. They can say, oh, you can't say you're going to meet in New York. But if you're having a bank transfer, oh, I'm going to send you money via Zelle, what are they going to know, Well, I guess you could have a New York bank. So I don't know how they do that. But anyway, to my point before, my point was this more peer-to-peer stuff. Like, it is local Bitcoins that's just trying to be nice and comply with them. It is not the kind of thing that they could really enforce if local Bitcoins was not just like afraid of being shut down in New York, like the website. So, or being sued or something like that. Steven says, what are your thoughts on silent prayer, or as the Buddhists call, meditation? Does God know our hearts in silence without spoken language? Yes, of course. Of course, I'm not a Buddhist, but yeah, I mean, silent prayer. Although a lot of the times it's better to vocalize prayer if it's. I feel like especially if you're repeating the same, if you're doing like a Jesus prayer or a, I don't know, Hail Mary, whatever you're doing. Like a repetitive prayer, I feel like it's a little weird to repeat that in your head. Like, I feel like you have to kind of say it under your breath. Like, I don't know, it just feels weird not to do that. But that's just my... But yeah, of course, it still applies if you don't say it. So now that you have Soylink, does this mean no cabin streams? Yeah, I did one cabin stream, and that that was all I guess I needed. So now I could just do one for my real house. Okay, I think it's kind of low energy that I'm looking at the picture now. I wasn't looking at my image before, and it looked kind of low energy because I was like looking down, like it was like this in comparison to the camera. So now I'm gonna have a more direct view. So, yeah, this is much more now. I probably should have done this from the beginning. Actually, I think in a lot of other live streams, I have put the webcam on my laptop as opposed to the monitor. But I think it's a little more natural now that I do it. Are you a raw milk enthusiast? Yeah, I drink raw milk. There's a dairy around here that they sell raw milk, and they also sell non-homogenized milk, which I really like. Their non-homogenized milk, I mean, call me cucked for drinking anything pasteurized, but it is pasteurized. They just don't homogenize it, which basically means they keep the chunks in it, okay? And the chunks in milk, oh, that sounds gross. Oh, chunks in milk, nasty. No, that's because you've never tried it. I mean, it's so much better. It tastes better. It's just, I don't know, whatever. It's good. It's good stuff. So I will drink that, and it's just lots of fun. That's all I gotta say about that. All right. Brian sent in some Monero. Love the videos. Just wondering when you're gonna do a video on testosterone. Well, it's not just testosterone, but kind of hormonal warfare in general. That might be worth talking about. Just like I don't know, like everything that people do nowadays is kind of debilitates them hormonally, including staying up late, which is why I need to go to bed in a bit. You should basically rise when the sun rises. I always do. Like, it doesn't matter if I go to sleep at like 5 or well, the sun is basically rising then. But if I go to bed at like 3 a.m. hypothetically, which never happens, but if I do, I will wake up when the sun rises. I still will. But yeah, like basically everything about modern society, whether it's staring at screens or not getting a good rest or having a phone that is radiating your testicles at all times, or not getting sunlight, therefore vitamin D, which is hormonally active and, increases your testosterone level. Like, literally everything coordinates to make you like low T. It is kind of funny. Even plastics, like growing up using plastics or drinking from plastic water bottles. Oh, they have they cause xenestrogens in your body. So yeah, it is kind of nutty. But I mean, you can look at other people for that. I don't know if that's really my cup of tea. The things that I talk about, I might talk about that. But oh man, live stream viewers will always know. It's a long live stream if I start scratching my nose. I don't know why. There's something about talking for a prolonged period. It just makes me want to scratch. It's just this one part right here. I just got to scratch. Simple answer: homogenized and pasteurized milk slowly kills you. Yeah, I mean, like non-raw milk is basically like sugar water. Well, I don't want to say that. Whole milk, well, skim milk is like sugar water. Don't drink that crap. It's literally just take. It literally is getting tap water and putting milk flavor inside of it. That's what it is. It has no nutrition. Okay, no saturated fats, no nothing. Okay, the stuff that you need, the stuff that you actually need, like saturated fats and cholesterol, the things that they're actually healthy that people relentlessly shill against. Which, by the way, cholesterol also, if you have low cholesterol, you're gonna have low T. Yeah, don't fall for those memes. So raw milk is not any different. Like a lot of people are oh my goodness, it's raw. I'm gonna die if I drink it. Oh my goodness, there was all this bacteria. No, it's just not gonna. Just drink it. It's gonna be fine. Or if you want to get people into raw food, you can do it that way. You can get them in the milk. That's the first thing that they'll drink a little bit of, and they'll realize, okay, I didn't die. But also eggs. Like, because in fact, there are a lot of normies I know who like will eat eggs raw. Like I've seen people who, put one in a glass or blend it up or something. That's not something irregular, but and if they eat, a raw egg, and then you can get them more at like, okay, what about this? What about a steak that's like this rare or something like that? But thoughts on almond milk? Beyond cucked, and of course it shouldn't be called milk. What are your thoughts on lactose intolerance as a milk chad? Well, I feel bad for people who are lactose intolerant, but that's the cards that a lot of people are dealt, and if you can't digest it, I mean, like milk is like a cheat code almost, because it is like if you drink some good raw milk or even whole milk, right? It can be nearly a meal replacement. Like it's a great way of getting lots of nutrition in just like one easy swig, So it is kind of like a cheat code. It is, I mean, there's a reason Indo-Europeans expanded. They were so successful, right? But, what can you do if you can't drink it? That's how it is with some people. I will say that if you go a long time without drinking milk, even if you are someone who's genetically, for example, I can, of course, drink milk. However, if I go a long time without drinking it or having dairy products, the next time I drink it, I will feel it's a little hard to digest or something. You can kind of feel it, all right? But that, that's normal. Like, and you might be someone who's kind of on the verge of, I can sort of digest it or sort of not, and you might be able to acclimate yourself to it more. But people are different. Like, if I mean, real milk is kind of a white people thing. Like, there are other races that can. I mean, if you have like Indo-European ancestry, you can usually digest milk, or a lot of pastoral people. Historically pastoral people will have the ability to digest milk, but if you're Chinese, tough luck. I don't know, sorry dude. Hey, I mean, you guys have perks too. Like there's something like I think I did this in I mentioned this in one of my not related episodes, but like there something like a third of Chinese people do not have body odor. They don't produce it. That's just how they are. There are perks to everything. Okay, so I looked at the YouTube chat. I've not been looking at Super Chats. If there have been Super Chats, I'm sorry for not responding to them. But I see one now. Marco says, what are your thoughts on NFTs and Web3? Do they not have any use case, or do they have potential? I am absolutely sure that NFTs will have a use, but they are definitely not useful now. I do not see any use for them right now. They're just kind of like a funny thing. Web3... that could be anything, really. I mean, Web3. It depends on what you mean by that. Like, it's more like a buzzword. Like, people don't really... oh, shoot. Oh, oops. Hold on. Like, if you had something specific or concrete you're asking about that, like, I can respond to it. But, like, that is such a catch-all term for a million different things. And, like, DeFi or like Ethereum and stuff like that. Like it could be many, many things, right? Oh, the stream's current bitrate is higher than the recommended. Okay, I didn't actually see that. Oh, I guess I'm sorry, guys. My stream is too high quality for YouTube. Well, it's good that it's been working. It's good that my internet is so good that I can go beyond what's necessary. Okay, let me go to viewer activity. Okay, looks like there was another super chat that I may have missed. I think it was like for $2. So sorry about that, guy. I do not see it. YouTube is like mentally retarded when it comes to super chats. Like there's now a tab that you can go to viewer activity and view super chats, but it's only like recent ones since you've had the tab open or something ridiculous. Absolutely nuts. That's why YouTube like just sucks. Remember, kids, if you actually want to donate, bam, over there, donate or shoot, I'm trying to get the right angle. xmr.lukesmith.xyz. I love that the Monero thing is actually working. So Eric, I don't know if you're watching this, but your software is working great. It's working fantastic. And you will note that, like, I have a notification that comes up when someone donates. It can also show the entire message, but I didn't want to do that yet because, you know, someone could say the gamer word a million times, and that would be problems for YouTube. So I was like, I'll hide the comments on the stream, but, you know, maybe next time. He said that he does want to have some kind of word filter, like if you want to filter out words, like if you want to be YouTube safe and, you know, you don't want to make the gender confused mods mad. You can omit words, and you know that, like, you might say that's cucked, but that is something useful. And realistically speaking, it's a good way of filtering out spam too. Well, actually, you're less likely to get spam in any kind of super chat because people are not going to want to spend money to spam usually. So, all right, where did I put there? It is. YouTube captions actually working on a live stream, but it censored the word retarded. That's one of the craziest things. The fact that they're forcing the word retarded to be a bad word. Now that's something that's happened. Really, they began memeing that when I was a kid. Like, you can't say this word for whatever. Like, what are you supposed to say instead? Now just people say this like passive aggressive stuff. Oh, he's mentally challenged. Wink. Which means the same thing. Like, it's not, the term retarded is not insulting because it's an insulting term. Like, it's a perfectly sensible thing. Like, back when people started using the term, it had no negative, associations with it. The negative associations come with the thing that it describes, right? That's why people, now people will call each other mentally retarded or something like, or mentally challenged. And that is just as much as an insult. I remember my dad said that he used to work for this agency in Atlanta. It was like a nonprofit, or like he volunteered or something. And it was something like the Atlanta Retards Association or something like that. Which, back in the 70s or whatever, that was a perfectly sensible name to name something. Now it's like you're being, I don't know, you're saying the equivalent of the gamer word. That actually is the idea that the gamer word, that you can't even say it, Steven says, do you think technology is generally holy or satanic? I mean, it's neutral, but there are some technologies which necessarily have an impact on things. Just inevitably. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like technology is a very broad category. It's a word we have that describes many things that are not really related. Okay. So is a shovel is technology. TikTok is also technology. Okay. So I wouldn't call a shovel satanic. I would be more likely to say that TikTok is satanic. But what is ultimately satanic is when a human is ripped out from his natural place, where he is put in a place psychologically, spiritually, where he cannot make good moral decisions, right? So if he is inundated with propaganda and inundated with, sexual stimulation to make him more, suggestible and things like that, yeah, that's satanic. But technology itself, it's neutral. You could say it's neutral, right? So Monero, of course, nominally this stream is about Monero, and we did talk about Monero and stuff like that. In our world right now, Monero is actually highly based in red pilled because it's basically the people who are being oppressed by the financial system, politically speaking. They're the people who are more likely to be, I don't know, based in red pilled, right? Whereas, if we lived in an alternate reality where, I don't know, we had a financial system that looked something like this, but it was like run by some, I don't know, sane government that only censored pornographers or something like that. Pornography. Monero would actually be, pretty cringe because it would be, empowering Coomers and stuff like that. So the technology itself is neutral, but the situation that it's in can be good or bad or something like that. But my view is that you in the case of technology, do we want to use free software? Do we want to use good cryptocurrencies and stuff like that? I think the best strategy for everything is to fight for good neutral technologies that don't systematically undermine people. And still never become too reliant on them. One thing that I don't want is I don't want so-called hyper-Bitcoinization, hyper-Moneroization even. I don't want us to live in a place where we have to use these technologies. Okay, they're nice things to have, but we don't want to be overly reliant on them, right? I do not want a cashless society. Okay, I want a society where we have an option of using a hard cryptocurrency, but I would like us to be able to pay in silver or something as well. I think that's a pretty sensible thing. Steven says, what are your thoughts on milk? I basically just gave my thoughts on milk. I drink a lot of milk. I drink, if you don't stop me, if I go to the grocery store and get milk, I will come back with multiple gallons. And if you don't stop me, I'll probably drink a gallon a day. I usually hold myself off at, half a gallon. And I'll go days without drinking it. But I drink it. It's really my default drink, aside from water in a jar. Because a lot of times, especially when I'm working on something, it can be a meal equivalent, right? Because you're getting enough nutrition from milk that you can basically just drink it, not have to worry about cooking yourself something. So I think it's very nice, very useful. And yeah, I usually drink either raw or non-homogenized milk. Or actually, if anyone asks, I get the raw milk for my calves, quote unquote. That's what the carton says, for calves only. Wink. My calves really love it. So Jacob says, to the people considering college, don't bother. Our campus had to apologize today for handing out Hawaiian leis for an event because of cultural appropriation. Do yourself a favor and avoid these joke institutions at all costs. And they're becoming more and more clown colleges. Actually, real clown colleges are less clowny than non-clown college. Wait, no. Colleges are now more clowny than clown colleges, and clown colleges are less clowny than colleges. That's what I tried to say. Colleges have gotten so much tangibly worse just in the time that I was in them. Because, I went to college. My first year in college was 2008. That was back when Obama was running for president. And just to see the disjoint between that and, I was in college for a long time, getting all these degrees. So I ended up in it as well when Orange Boomer got elected too. And just to see the mental decay that happened in those people, the cult, I don't know, it is a cult. When I always tell people when I started my PhD program at Arizona, it was like I had walked into this cult. It was like these people were on this bizarre religious experience, and they were all in this cabal together. They literally plotted things and had secret meetings of how to do these specific political things and to harm people who they suspected descent from, and it was just bizarre just to see this happen. Things are nuts, and they were nuts then, and they've gotten worse. And a lot of people are still trying to hold on to college. Oh, well, I need a degree for this. Or, oh, well, I'm in math and things aren't as bad. And I'm in physics and things aren't as bad. And, well, you just wait. Never bet on a college. It's never going to work. I don't care how based your college is. I mean, if you go to Hillsdale, that's great. That's great. I hear they're very nice. I hear they're much better than the other ones. But if you are in an institution that is funded by the American government to propagandize people, it will do what they're paid to do. Okay? These are brainwashing institutions. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think it's going to create like people who have like a sense of things, who can think creatively and, I don't know, think critically and, speak truth to power? No, they're going to be freaking shills. And the worst part now is that universities don't even try to attack or attract, or they do try to attack intelligent people. They don't try to attract them. They want people who are most pliable, who will go in and they have nothing to lose because they hate their family, they hate their religion, their race, their everything. They even hate themselves, and the only thing that gives them value in their own minds is being a part of this like weird political cult. Okay? Those are the kind of people that graduate programs want. Those are the kind of people that colleges want. And if they don't get enough of them, they will try their damnedest to create people like that, because that is what college programs do. So yeah, that's how they are. That's just how they are. They're getting worse. Okay? Oh, I know things are... your college is different. And hey, listen, there are smaller colleges. I said when I started my PhD... the college I went to there, it was like a cult. Now, the one I went to my AMA at, it was much better. Like, it was not like that. Part of it was because this is the pre-Orange Boomer era, where people weren't quite as... I don't know, they didn't quite care about some things as much. They were like, oh, we don't have to worry about this. We don't have to be psychotic all the time. But... a lot of it has to do... Like, the more grandiose, the larger the college will be, the worse it will be. The higher, like the more Harvard, Yale, Stanford, like the more bigger names, they will be most crazy. Now, hey, maybe you're a community college. There are many community colleges out there that are okay places, that have professors that are fine people. But I am just telling you that don't even bet on those. Do not expect, 10 years down the line for them to be fine. And everyone, I have no intention of sending any of my children to college whatsoever. And I hope you are not planning for that. Save up your money, get rid of your college fund, just have a house fund. Buy a house for your kid instead, because college degrees cost just as much, okay? So, anyway, that's college. 200 rubles from Nikta. Didn't almost use soap on my hair since summer. My hair is fine. Shampoo is a scam. Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I don't use shampoo either way. But, actually, this transaction is probably illegal now because it's like rubles. Or I assume RUB is rubles. I'm not quite sure. But good to know that YouTube is still transacting with, Russian currencies. Is RUB ruble? I'm just going to assume that it is. Yeah, but when it comes to that... people definitely do over shampoo. In fact, I really think that's one of the reasons I lost my hair so much, because I shampooed every day. Kitty, shut up! Also, soap. People overuse soap. They 100% overuse soap. Just get like a loofah, or what is it? A loofah. So some kind of abrasive to scratch. Shoot. I would show you mine. Actually, I'm going to put that cat outside, and I'll show you what I use to clean. All right, Kitty, come on. Come on, Kitty. Come on, Kitty. All right, here we go. This is what you use. So soap is overused. You really shouldn't use soap every day because you don't really need... Like, soap, it just dries you out. I don't know. It's bad for you hormonally. Check this out. All you do, exfoliates you. cleans you. You don't need to use soap every day because you don't stink that much every day. Actually, this will help you stink less. And I actually, on that, I mean, most of the time you don't even stink. There's just a mild smell. Just a mild, I mean, it's not even like a bad smell. It's just like, that's my smell. And that's a normal thing. The thing is, people now, they detect any kind of odor from themselves, even when it's not a bad odor. And they're like, oh, let me, rub, soap all over me and stuff like that. It's stupid. And I hope you don't use like that liquid soap crap. I just use a bar of soap. When I use soap, if I'm dirty, okay, if I go out and work and I'm dirty, I will use soap. And I will just, none of that. No washcloths, none of that stuff. Okay, D. White says there is something so indescribably depraved about TikTok. So much of it is private thoughts that should be kept private, but people are broadcasting it to the world. Yeah, I mean, that's how a lot of it is. One funny thing about TikTok and all this kind of crap is, so I have some relatives that are like school teachers, like elementary school teachers, like, teaching, I don't know, kids, whatever. And it's actually funny how sexualized children are with like the LGBT stuff. Okay, which we can't talk too much about on YouTube, but I will just tell you this. I have a relative who has third graders, maybe fourth graders. I think it's third graders though. And he will like confiscate notes, okay, about like these third grade girls talking about how they're like polyamorous and like how I'm bi and like all this kind of crap. Like here are these kids that don't know anything about anything. Like, I don't know how you were when you were in third grade. When I was in third grade, I wasn't even quite sure. Like, I didn't really know that like boys and girls have different parts. You know what I mean? Actually, I guess, a lot of these kids, they don't really understand that boys and girls have different parts. But, so it's so, and part of this is TikTok stuff, right? Because a lot of these kids, they get on TikTok and there's all this stuff, there's all the brainwashing, the sexual brainwashing stuff, which is now being marketed to like very little young kids, right? Oh, we have to give sex ed to kindergartners. Oh, we have to, all this kind of crap. Like there's no, kindergartners should understand consent and all this kind of crap, which I don't know what you expect to get from that. Okay, but this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna have kids who are third graders who are watching, pornography and who are talking about their sexual identities and all this kind of crap that didn't exist before you told them about it, right? None of this existed. It wasn't a thing. And, it is actually depressing. Even people my age, which things weren't as bad when I was their age or whatever, but like the people I've met in my life who like boys and girls who started watching pornography in like elementary school or something, and just the rest is history. And it's almost like they get set on this path that they refuse to take themselves off of, and it always leads to the same place. It leads to their entire everything they live and breathe is about cooming, right? The politics of cooming, the pleasure of cooming. Everything is about I need to be able to coom without any kind of any kind of repercussions, right? That's the entire thing, and that's when it starts, like stuff like TikTok. Anderwell says you need something to remove the dead skin and bacterial growth. If not, the skin mites will continue to grow and cause fungal issues. Soap is not needed, but you need a cleaning oil. Avoid SLS foam. Yep. I watched South Park in third grade and now I'm here. Well, South Park is nothing in comparison to the kind of stuff that kids see now. Remember when you were a kid and you thought that South Park was like funny? Or was it ever funny? It really wasn't. Like I remember, I want to say in high school I watched episodes of South Park and I was like, I'm going to download the whole thing and I'll watch them all. And I just remember starting to watch through them, and it's just like every single one of them is just like there were a couple funny episodes. There were like one or two funny episodes that like probably if I watched them now I'd find them really stupid, but you know. Steven says, this year my wife and I are growing our first garden from seeds. Any crop recommendations? It depends on where you live. So one thing that I've become obsessed with, okay, that I think I'm going to grow this year. I'm going to show you the can of it. So you may see these in stores, okay? So maybe you Italians know better, okay? But when it comes to Italian food now, I cannot use any kind of sauce that is not made of a tomato that is not this, right? Wait, that was too many knots. San Marzano tomatoes, okay? Once I discovered these, I love these so much, okay? That, and these are like, when you look up this is how you actually make this dish, right? Online, they'll always tell you to use these tomatoes. And most normies, most Amera boomers are just going to be like, I'm just going to use tomatoes, right? But these are better, okay? So tomatoes, one thing I realized is that tomatoes grow, like you get a lot of output for the little input with them. At least where I am, okay? I might be, lower latitude than you. I might be warmer. And tomatoes are not the kind of thing I like buying at the store because they're always expensive and I never eat as much as I want. Like, I can never buy the right amount. I either get too little or too many. But when I grew tomatoes, I just sort of flippantly planted them. I realized, this is actually perfect because I get them, they come in, gradually over time, and I can get all the tomatoes I want and actually more. So I forget what varieties I was planting. It was not this, but I got seeds for this, and I will be planting these so I do not have to buy them. This can costs like $4. It's ridiculous. It's insane. But these are good. Like I can't go back to normal tomatoes. So that's one thing I do. Any kind of potatoes or sweet potatoes. Just because you get so many calories from them, they're good to have. Like you can do anything with potatoes and sweet potatoes. Like you can make fries, you can make mashed potatoes, you can make all kinds of casseroles and all these other dishes. You need potatoes and sweet potatoes. Onions, absolutely. Like, really, like, when it comes to gardens, a lot of people will plant very obscure stuff, okay? Oh, here are all these random herbs that no one really uses. Like, I when I plant stuff, I want basics. I want to be able to, like, feed myself, right? So, potatoes, sweet potatoes, those are big things. Yams, if you like them, okay? Sweet potatoes, I guess, are technically some type of yam. Onions, and I use onions in freaking everything. I eat like 1 million onions a day. And like, things like tomatoes. And I feel like those for me are kind of staples. Those are really the only things that I need to plant. Those are the only things I like in terms of produce I really buy from the store. I guess it would be nice. I've never planted them, but maybe carrots and celery so I can make mirepoix, like for making broth and stuff, because you usually cut up carrots and celery and onions and put them together, and they usually call that mirepoix. It's the French word or whatever. I don't exactly know what it means in French, but maybe it's just a word for that. But that's what, and then you cook, you heat up chicken or beef or whatever, and that's how you make broth, all in that kind of stuff. But Enderwill says companion crops / farming is the best way. Nicta says we do commit a bit of transaction. Lol, 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 lol. Okay. Do people put up with cats because they are funny? I mean, cats are really just like kind of decorations. They're kind of like fidget cubes. Like, have you ever seen a fidget cube where people just play with them? It's the same thing with the cat. They're just decorations. You like pet them. Okay. Oh, it's nice. Oh, it makes this sound. Oh, wow, it's cute. And cats, of course, are evolved to look cute, right? We look at them and, oh, wow, it's so cute. But they really are literally the most annoying beings you can possibly think of. They make lots of noise. And when they want to get cozy with you, let's say a cat likes you, what does it do? Well, it goes over to you, You know, let's say you're laying down. It goes to your face or your chest, the most annoying parts for something to be sitting on you, and then it just claws into you. Like, that's what a cat does. Cats are just... I mean, when you think about it, oh, yeah, oh, sure. I mean, I think, cats are cute. Look at the cute kitty. Like, if I see a stray cat, like, oh, the poor cat, you know? Like, I feel for it. But I also acknowledge that these things are parasites. Like, they're the most... I don't know, they're terrible beings. Like, raccoons are better, you know? But, you know, that's how it is. They're like... I'm talking about cats in the same way that, like, incels talk about women, you know? It's like, they hate that they can manipulate them. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about them. And dogs are just kind of dumb. Okay, I really need to go to bed because it's past midnight, and I know I said earlier it's very important for people to get to bed on time. So, anyway, thank you everyone who tried at the XMR donations. That was really great. I'm glad to see this is working. We got at least 10, maybe 15 of them. So, I will definitely be using this in live streams in the future. So here's my recommendation. Go get some Monero, okay? So you can participate next time. But really for you, I mean, you get a couple $100 in it, and you can send me 2 of it, okay? If you want in the next live stream, okay? So do it for you. Get some of that. Get your friends into crypto. I shouldn't say crypto. Don't into good stuff, into Bitcoin, Monero, in a private wallet for which you have the seed, the seed for which you have. Said that backwards. So do yourself a favor there. We're gonna move forward to the future. Anyway, Eric, if you're watching this again, your software worked great, and I will probably be using it more in the future. So, yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna turn this thingy off and just right at 2 hours. Well, maybe I should. Hold on. I'm gonna double check just in case I missed the donation. Oh, look, there is nope. That's an email. That's not a donation. All right, that's about it. I'm turning this off.